Yo, what up, brothers? What's up? It's the director. Madden fans, we got some stuff to talk about. Been playing the Madden 21 beta. Been taking my time. You know, I play about maybe 20 games on head-to-head, maybe 15 games versus the AI, and I think I got a pretty good grip on what I want to talk about as far as my first impressions of the game. It should be a good time, guys. Before we get started, hit us up with a like and sub if you do enjoy this content. Guys, I'm so excited. I just dropped some major moolah, some big cheddar on a new system yesterday. Should be here in a couple of weeks, but to help me out with my edits, my system right now is like 6 years old. I've been saving up forever. Finally was able to pick up the new system, so hopefully we level up in Madden 21. It's gonna be a good year, guys. I'm very, very excited, hoping, you know, to get all this daily content out and have a really good time with you guys. So thank you for your continued support, guys. I'm super excited to see what the future holds. Let's get into this video. So I put together a whole bunch of notes of my experiences inside the Madden 21 beta. And, you know, I'm you know, a pretty experienced player. I'm not like a pro player at all, you know, like I understand the functionality of Madden, I understand how the gameplay works, but I'm not, you know, anywhere near like a pro level, like analyst when it comes to Madden. So this is a pretty good opportunity to kind of see what your average Joe is going to look like, their impressions of what the game's going to feel like. So the first thing I got put down here is, we only got to play regs. Boo. I was hoping we get a little bit of franchise, maybe start to see a little bit of the UI from, you know, Ultimate Team and stuff, but we only played regs with 4 teams, the Falcons, the Chiefs, the Buccaneers, and the Ravens. And playing that over and over and over again did get a little bit repetitive, maybe a little bit boring, and so it got old pretty fast is what I'm trying to say. But that's the experience we had, was the handful of players from those teams. Some of them had, you know, unique abilities and, you know, superstar X factors and stuff like that. You know, others were, you know, maybe standouts because of their attributes. One of the first things I noticed playing against the AI was definitely turned up a notch. They were better adapting at repeated plays. So for instance, you come out and, you know, like, I don't know, trips tight end or something like that. You're trying to hit that in route over and over and over again, or trying to hit that tight end over again, or maybe trying to hit that flat over and over and over again. The AI will eventually react. You know, it's going to be much harder to get that play open. It's going to be much harder to get any success from that. So you do need to adapt. You have to become a little bit more flexible in your play calling, even against the AI. And what consequences does that hold? Maybe in like solos and stuff like that. We know there's some huge solo grinds in Madden Ultimate Team. Maybe you're not going to be able to spam the same plays over and over again like we have in years past. You know, if you wanted to go out there and play defense, you just came out, you know, in those mid blitzes and stuff like that, and it was really easy to get through it. But now it seems you're going to probably have to adjust a little bit more. One of the biggest things, which you guys will probably notice from the title of this video, Madden 21 Beta Rise of the Passer. My favorite thing in this, my experience in this beta, was definitely the QB release. It is so much faster. When you're talking about in comparison to Madden 20, took like, you know, you could do your taxes in between, you know, throws. It's so nice to be able to get the ball out really quick, and a lot of it has to do with that real momentum that carries in the throwing motion, and this is such a good risk reward factor. And what I'm talking about is, you know, if you're starting your throwing motion and there's like a pass rusher coming at you, you know, from the right side, the left side, and to make contact with you, you're still going to be able to get that ball off, but it's going to adjust the trajectory of it. It's going to influence it. And that does add some risk reward factor. If you still want to try and get that pass off with pressure in your face, there's a chance that thing's going to float and you're going to get picked off. There's a chance that, you know, you're going to get it swatted or something. I actually got swatted a couple of times. You know, I had pressure right in my face. I was Tom Brady, and I threw it, and somebody on the Falcons or something, you know, swatted it down, and then the linebacker next to me was able to pick it off and take it for a pick six. That happened twice to me. So just keep in mind, you know, that pressure does influence your throwing motion, but at the same time, it being so much faster is huge, because with that risk and reward does come the reward of being able to get the ball out and have a chance, you know, at making something happen, making a play happen. Next here I have the quick throws actually work. Yes, quick throws actually work. You guys remember in Madden 20, you try to get a quick throw out and you get sucked into that animation, you get stuck in that animation of him getting ready to throw, that by the time, you know, you're ready to, you know, wind up your throw, you're already on the ground. You know, Joey Bosa or somebody already got to you, and you're looking up at the sky. Not anymore. If you want to get a quick throw out in Madden 21, it's actually quite enough simple. And this is something I noticed a lot with Patrick Mahomes, actually, because the combination of quick throws with Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill was pretty deadly. Because Tyreek Hill, you know, wide receivers like that, they get out in open space. If you can, you know, one of those screens, those wide receiver screens, if he's open out there, it feels like human joystick with Tyreek Hill, and he can take it all the way, dude. Like the agileness, the speed, the agility, like he's really nice in open space. So that's something you can utilize in Madden Ultimate Team if you've got yourself, you know, a decent quarterback that can sling it really quick, especially in maybe like a West Coast offense. And you got a speedy wide receiver, you can make some stuff happen as a user. And I really like that. I think quarterbacks especially old school quarterbacks should only be asked to do so much, and they should put some trust in their receivers to make something happen. They should put, trust in their teammates to make a play. And that's why I really, really love, maybe the thought of going to a West Coast offense this year. When it comes to throwing against the defense, I feel like the zone defenders are more or less the same this year. Sometimes I noticed that maybe they were a tiny bit improved. Other times I noticed that they were pretty bad. And when you have a stark contrast between, those two experiences, I don't know where it lands. Maybe somewhere in the middle. They're more or less the same is what I'm saying. The one thing I did like, though, was the coach adjustment, the zone drops. I actually used that quite a bit, I would say, in my second half of games in head-to-head. When I noticed the guy going to those corners, when I noticed the guy, trying to hit deep in situations where you couldn't afford to, throw it to the flats, I would make sure those zone drops were a little bit further back. And that actually worked for me a little bit, but it took a little bit more manual control. But in the end, I would say they're very easy to dice up with a good quarterback. You got a decent quarterback, you're going to dice up those zones very, very frequently, and there's not much you can do on defense about that. That segues into my next point here. The linebacker is very sketchy this year. I would almost say kind of clunky. Very tough to move around. He's not very agile. He's not very fast. And that creates a lot of opportunities for the passer in Madden 21. They just can't keep up with receivers is a big thing. Not even tight ends a lot of the time. And granted, we're going against some pretty good tight ends in the beta. Travis Kelce, even Maurice Hurst was pretty good with the Falcons. Mark Andrews too, I would say. Actually, it was really hard to cover Mark Andrews, but I would say a patient quarterback. Let's say you have a route that's developing and there's a middle linebacker, there's a linebacker user on that receiver, even a tight end. Let's say it's a slant. Eventually, after like a second maybe, that receiver is gonna get open and you can sling it and you pick up a first down, pick up a touchdown, whatever. Just basically, you cannot keep up with your users. If it's a linebacker, you just cannot keep up with those receivers. Even a good linebacker like Patrick Queen, who was on the Ravens, I found myself just not being fast enough to keep up with anybody. And again, this is something that could change in MUT, in franchise. Maybe you can get somebody out there that's a bit quicker, but as far as linebackers are concerned, it didn't feel like you were going to be able to stop anybody. That user is really going to be tough this year. Defensive back users are kind of more or less the same as well. They're a little bit faster, but at the same time, if they decide to run on you, if they decide, whatever, it's going to be really tough to tackle with those guys. That will change Madden Ultimate Team when we have better players, but that's just something I did notice. I think it's going to be even more essential that you're using a safety or something back there instead of a linebacker this year. Let's move on. We're getting kind of, this video is going to be a little bit longer than I was hoping. Next up, we've got quarterbacks we got to use were, Lamar, Mahomes, Brady, and Matty Ice. My personal favorite out of those quarterbacks was actually Tom Brady. Like, honestly, he had near perfect accuracy, very few pressured influence throws, which was really, really nice. It really felt like, I had success with a pocket passing quarterback, which is really, really nice. Lamar was my second favorite quarterback. He may be a little OP at launch. We have to remember, MUT players, if you guys are getting, I think it's like the MVP edition, you're going to get a base elite Lamar Jackson at launch. And that's going to be pretty hard to stop, especially because of how little the quarterbacks are fumbling in my experience. It feels like, unless you're trying to strip a quarterback, which for me worked most of the time, but if you just go for a straight, maybe hit stick, you go for, a straight open field tackle, they're not going to fumble the ball as much this year. So that's something to keep in mind when going Ultimate Team. Those mobile quarterbacks are definitely going to be deadly. But in my experience, the accuracy, the dependability of a guy like Tom Brady was my personal preference, at least. But you guys will see, there's good things about both styles of quarterbacks coming this year. I'm just hoping that they give us, an incentive to use those strong arms as well, because those are the guys that seem to be left out. Next up, momentum and change of direction are going to take some adjustment. Sharp moves to the left or right feel like a journal. You lose momentum. It might be because we're used to the human joystick. And that's just basically, your movement left to right. And this is on the left stick. This isn't with the evasive or the elusive sticks, on the right side. This is just moving normally. If you try to change direction, you're going to kind of journal, one side to, hurdle maybe one side to the left side. And you're going to lose a little bit of momentum. And that's just something that, again, we're probably used to in Madden 20 with the human joystick. But it could just take some adjustments. I've kind of gotten a little bit better over my time in my head-to-head experience as this game goes on. How about running? Running is good, but definitely toned down. Outside runs are definitely nerfed, but I would say in a good way. You really need to rely on following your blockers this year and finding an open lane. So less is just, having that, automatic thought of, okay, if I run, a stretch to the left, I can just go around this guy and be completely out in the open. It's less of that and more of, okay, if I run a stretch to the left, I got to see where my fullback's going. I got to see where my guard's going. I got to see what lane opens up, maybe in the A gap or something like that. You really have to pay attention to that and hit that lane. And that, to me, adds a little bit of user skill, which is nice. It's like real football. Definitely take advantage of that. So I like the nerf. It definitely tones down the run a little bit and influences people not to go outside every single play, which was super annoying in Madden 20. Reach out defenders can kill a run before it develops. Now, this is also something that's pretty good. If you're trying to hit that same A gap over and over and over again, those reach out defenders are going to stop momentum. And what I love about stopping momentum in Madden 21, and we'll get to this in just a second, it takes a little bit of skill to get around those dudes. So if you're looking for an open lane, you got to make sure to go a little bit further away from that reach out defender so you can hit that open pocket. That's pretty simple, but I'll go over that more here in just a second. Elusive moves on the right stick are going to take some adjustment, but jukes are great. Spinning's going to take practice, but overall, both of them are very, very good. So the elusive moves, all of them being on the right stick is definitely going to take an adjustment from the user. But I think ultimately, maybe other than spinning, it's a good thing. Just because, being able to, it almost feels like Mortal Kombat. You know what I mean? Those combinations on Mortal Kombat, you use like X, Y, Z, 1, 1, 2, 5, whatever, and you would hit a really insane combination. It kind of feels that way in Madden 21 with the running back, with the ball carrier. If you're able to hit a good combination of jukes and spins and jurtles and dead leg, you could ultimately fake out 3 or 4 dudes, but it's going to take some serious skill. And that's the kind of skill gap I like to see in Madden. So especially when it comes with the run, if you're able to, do something like that, I will be impressed. I will be less mad that you scored on me because obviously you're a good player and you deserve to, destroy me on head-to-head. Next up is the usering defensive lineman is definitely better, but also risky. So usering defensive lineman, you can get off your blocks really quick if you're usering them. Okay, if I'm on Joey Bosa, I'm going to be able to get off my block really, really quick, but only for a while. Because eventually that offensive lineman's going to remember what I'm doing, and I'm not going to be able to get off that block. But being able to get off so quickly is really, really nice because you can obviously start your pursuit on the quarterback. If it's against a run, you could destroy the run completely at the very beginning of the snap, which is really nice. The only thing is faster quarterback release usually means you'll have to be very, very fast to actually get to the quarterback and affect the throw. So if we got guys like Lawrence Taylor and Madden Ultimate Team later, that could be pretty big. And the reason I say that is because the one guy that I consistently noticed getting to the quarterback more than others was DeCaris McKinley. And I know he's much faster than other guys in Madden. Next up, we'll get to the last few in here, guys. We'll speed through a couple of them. Using defensive line against the run, however, is really good. You get free very fast. If they run in your direction, you can stop the play dead. And this is something I noticed was guys like Calais Campbell, those big guys, those strong guys. If you run in their direction and you're using, that defensive end, they're going to get free and they're going to stop that run before it even starts. So that's really, really nice. Tackling angles, at least for me, were very hard, but that just may be user error for now. I'm just still trying to get used to, those angles. That's real life kind of football mechanics. Trying to hit stick against a juke, spin, dead leg are almost always whiffs. So right now, maybe until we see, a guy that has unfakeable or something, almost every time if you try to hit stick into, let's say, a running back like Austin Eckler and he's spinning, it's almost always a whiff for me at least. The stopping of momentum on tackling is great. Less rolling over, falling forward, and stumbling for additional yards. Although I don't hate the idea of that, I hated how often I saw it in Madden 20. You're sitting here with a guy with Eric Dickerson, going up the middle over and over and over and over again, and because he can fall forward for an extra 2, 3, 4 yards, there's no reason to run anything else. This year, the stopping of momentum is so much nicer just because when you hit an open field tackle, they're not going to go for as many more yards. They're not going to roll over you. They're not going to, and maybe sometimes they will, but you definitely don't see it as much as you saw in Madden 20, which is great. But the pursuit, this is one big thing I don't know if a lot of people are talking about. The pursuit has been toned way down. And this is even guys with like Damian, what's his name? The running back from the Kansas City Chiefs. if you hit, if you got open space on the outside, if you're like if you're on a pitch or something, and there's let's say a safety coming down to get you, you can really honestly just loop around him. And if you hit open space, it's really tough for another defender to catch up to you if you're not using any sort of ball carrier move, which in my opinion is actually pretty good. If you're not having to use, if you're hitting open space, if you're in open field, you should be able to take it all the way if you're not using a whole bunch of, ball carrier moves along the way. And that's been, to me, both good and bad. Sometimes I'm frustrated because I'm just like, there goes the play. But sometimes that's just how it works in real life football. Regs don't show us too much. A lot of these things will change as we assemble better teams, especially in MUT. Okay, that's something I didn't want to write down. Didn't love the left tackle celebration button. Lots of fumbles. Yeah. So now the left tackle, or the left trigger is the celebration button. Don't love that. There's so many times I was running with Lamar Jackson that I tried to slide, and instead I saw him start his celebration, and boom, the ball's on the ground, and they're taking it back for a touchdown. That happened a lot. So, I would say start practicing, get that out of your brain, that you need the left trigger to slide. You don't need that. You need left trigger to adjust your ball carry movements. No, don't do that. You're going to end up fumbling. I actually wish they would put that somewhere else, because it's kind of like a pretty, pivotal, button on the controller, very highly utilized in other games. I don't know. It's kind of weird, but if they want us to celebrate more, fine, whatever. Fast defensive back users. Okay, these are the last couple of things I'll talk about. The fast defensive back users like Jamal Adams, Derwin James, those safeties, those users, those guys that you're going to want to get in the box, those are going to be essential this year. Very few linebackers in MUT especially will be usable, in my opinion. So at the beginning of the year, I can see, again, guys like Jamal Adams and Derwin James being very valuable, because if you really want a user, if you want a user in any capacity that's close to what we had in Madden 20, which in my opinion was maybe a little OP, you're going to need yourself a really decent defensive back user, really decent safety user, and that's something to consider in Madden 21 as we go into MUT. Very hopeful for pocket quarterbacks this year. Yes, I am. In my experience with Brady, they could carve up the game this year, and this is something I felt at the beginning of Madden 20. Obviously, it died out with mobile quarterbacks getting so overpowered, but this year in particular, if you've got a strong, composed quarterback that can stay in the pocket, move around a little bit to avoid pressure, you're going to be just fine, and you're going to be able to carve up defense. You're going to have a lot of fun with them. Defensive ends this year will be important. A combination of speed and pass rush attributes can slow down the pass, absolutely. And a great balanced player like Joey Bosa could exceed it both against the pass and run. So something I wanted to write down there. And then lastly, receivers, route running attributes will be important. I noticed a considerable difference in cuts with a guy like Julio versus a guy like Calvin Ridley. So that's all my thoughts for right now. This video is definitely a lot longer than I was hoping it would be, but what do you guys think? You guys that have played the beta, what do you guys think as far as, there's other things I definitely didn't talk about. Maybe we'll do another video here later, but there's a lot of good and there's a lot of bad. So my final verdict with Madden 21, what are my thoughts? I think it's actually headed in the right direction. I like that the pass is becoming, more mechanic. I like the especially the physics that they're putting in the throwing motion quite a bit. I like how they've adjusted the run where they nerfed it, especially to the outside, but they also force you to hit your lanes a little bit more consistently, and that does create a skill gap. There's a couple of things I really don't like. There's a couple, the user is going to be definitely a huge adjustment for a lot of people. And then adding that usering of the defensive line is also very interesting, and I'm on board for that. I think that could be really fun, but ultimately, I would say, yeah, I'm excited. It's more or less the same of Madden 20. Let's get that out in the open, but I think there's enough improvements where it feels new enough, and we can ride along with it. Doesn't mean that, EA is done. They have some work to do, but so far, I would say satisfactory. It's satisfactory what I'm saying. There are things that need to be fixed, but I like the direction that it's headed in. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Director. Leave your likes, comments in the comment section below. If you guys like this kind of video, hit us up with a like, sub, and hit that bell notification. We'll see you next time, and as always, stay frosty.